Donna Lewis, I love you always, forever. It's 7:22. Well, with the rainy day today, lots of people will be checking their rain gauges, and thank you for everyone that's been texting in. We'll get to some of those shortly. But our grape growers will be on the lookout, monitoring vines for signs of downy mildew. It's a disease that could have a devastating impact on grapevines when warm, wet conditions are at play. Some vineyards in the Riverland were wiped out last year, so what is the outlook for this year? Let's find out more. We're joined by plant pathologist Peter McGarry. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm well, thank you.
Good to hear.
So, Peter, would the last 2 days be enough of a weather event to cause an outbreak here in the Riverland?
They're close to it, but they're not meeting the criteria at this point in time. A rule of thumb that a lot of people are aware of, and the old rap song used to tell us, was 10-10-24, and when 10-10-24 has come, downy mildew's just begun. And what that requires, the rule of thumb talks about 10 millimetres of rainfall while the temperature is above 10 in the 24-hour period. And what we haven't had is about the 24-hour period since it started raining, so it's still a little bit early to know. And also, whilst the temperature has been good, the rainfalls have been quite variable and insufficient at this point to trigger downy mildew.
Right. So do you mind just explaining what downy mildew is exactly?
Yes, it used to be called a fungus. To be truthful about the full thing now, it's actually an algae. So it's an algae-like fungus. It causes disease to spread in vineyards when the conditions are warm enough and wet enough for long enough. And so it will kill bunches if the berries are still susceptible. And the good news is at the moment, most of the berries in our vineyards are getting around pea size or more, in which case it's resistant to disease. So there's not a great urgency for the disease at this point in time.
Okay. And does it matter which type of downy mildew, or is there only one type? Because it's a water mould, as you're saying. Are there some more devastating than others?
Downy mildew basically is downy mildew across Australia.
Okay.
The trick is that there's a powdery mildew, which is a different one. If you think of something powdery, it's dry. So think of powdery dry mildew as the name of that disease. And what runs downhill? Well, water runs downhill. So downhill mildew, downy, needs wetness to spread. So mildews are similar names, but they're quite different in what they require in terms of conditions.
Okay, I'm speaking with Peter McGarry. He's a plant pathologist. Now, is it a straightforward disease to prevent and treat? And how costly is that process for growers?
It's quite costly, and when you think of, say, about $100 a hectare or more to apply a spray, multiply that by hectares, you get a number of significant spray costs for each event. So the aim is to control the disease with as few sprays as possible, and that's why we've been looking at the epidemiology of disease, that is, under what conditions does the disease spread. So then to give alerts, which we've been doing in the Riverland for something like 29 or 30 years now, and we're looking to ramp that up even more from now on.
Okay, so no alerts just yet, but if conditions keep going, there possibly could be one.
Yes, we require 16 hours of the wet soil being wet, and since 8 p.m. last night, we've only had 5 to 6 hours, maybe 7 or 8 at best, with sufficiently wet for sufficiently long enough.
Okay.
And so we're looking for 16 hours at least. So we're about halfway through the process, and it will depend on what the thunderstorms bring in the next hours as to what happens.
Okay. And last vintage was one of the worst for disease and wiped out 100% of some people's crops. Any advice for people who may be facing the same problems again?
Yes, there are two things that caused the 100% loss. Downy mildew is sometimes the cause, powdery mildew was the other. I think we need to be vigilant for spraying. We need to know when to spray best. We need to listen to the information, therefore, to get that, so we know just exactly when to apply sprays with maximum efficiency for control and when you can avoid not to. But at this time of the year, we haven't had any downy mildew to start for this season yet, even though we're so far into it. So there's quite relatively little disease risk at the moment, even if we do get a first or primary infection. So the disease needs to go through several cycles before it would do any harm. So at this point, we're not too bad a position, actually.
Okay. Thank you so much, Peter, for your time this morning. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you. That's Peter McGarry there, plant pathologist, talking about the downy mildew. If you missed any of that chat and would like to listen back, you can do so through the ABC Listen app. It's 7:27. We are